discussion. Our topic is going to be securing the hybrid workforce in 2021 and beyond. A key lesson learned from the pandemic is that enterprises must support work from anywhere all the time by everyone. In this session, we will discuss strategically about the hybrid workforce and the key requirements to enable it. We're looking at talking about creating networking and security architecture that can natively support the hybrid workforce, future of the VPN, moving towards SASE to unify all networking and security tools into a single management dashboard to cut costs and increase agility, growing use of the zero trust network access to deliver most networking and security capabilities from the cloud, and consuming remote access as a scalable global cloud service. Well, for this, we're elated to be joined by our eminent panelists. First up, I'd now like to invite on the stage and screen Vinod Bhatt, Chief Information Officer, Vistara Airlines. Well, Vinod is a multi-award winning CIO with 28 years of extensive experience in driving business transformation, leveraging digital technologies, managing relationships at a CXO level, P&L ownership for global business, driving business strategy and planning, sales delivery, operations with the deep understanding of the industry and global team dynamics. Thank you so much, Vinod, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you, Bob.
Great to have you. Joining Vinod on the stage and screen now is Kaushik Majumdar. Well, Kaushik, being the Head of Information Technology, Digital Services and Information Protection Officer, South Asia, BASF India Limited. Well, a doctorate and an MBA in IT with more than 21 plus years of experience in the field of leadership and strategic digital roles, Kaushik has handled end-to-end digital transformation and services activities that include setup of the complete transformation of legacy IT team of South Asia, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. Thank you so much, Kaushik, for joining us today.
Thanks, Bhavna. It's a pleasure.
Great to have you. Now joining them on the screen is Abhishek Sharma, Strategic Business Leader, Citrix. Well, Abhishek has been with Citrix for over 6 years and has led the strategic business at Citrix. Prior to joining Citrix, he's worked with companies like IBM and Lenovo Enterprise Business and has a great experience working with the CXOs and partners on the journey to digital transformation. Thank you so much, Abhishek, for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Bhavna, for having me.
Great to have you. Also joining the gentleman on the screen, first up is Kaustubh Dabral, the Director, Digital Finance Global Mondelez International. Well, Kaustubh is a global IT leader with almost 20 years of extensive experience in digital transformation, IT infrastructure, strategy, delivery, and operations. Thank you so much, Kaustubh, for joining us today.
Thanks, Bhavna.
Great to have you. And ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to introduce to you the panelists, the moderator of this panel discussion, Dr. Avadhoot Chandrakant Parab, Global CIO of Wockhardt Limited. With 22 years of experience in enterprise systems across globes like SAP with more than 10 lifecycle implementations, pharma GXP systems like TrackWise, Documentum, LMS, LIMS, Clinical Management System, and IT systems. With this, I'd now like to humbly invite on the stage and screen Dr. Avadhoot Parab. Thank you, Dr.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon.
Great to have you. So, ladies and gentlemen, with this, your entire panel is on your stage and screen. If you may have any questions, please post it up in the Q&A section. We will take it up at the end of the session if time allows. But with this, the live reins is in the hands of Dr. Avadhoot Parab to take it forth with his panel. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Bhavna, for a quick introduction, and welcome each one of you for the panel discussion, and welcome all the viewers for this session. We will try, and the objective is there is a good takeaway for each one of you, and we also learn from the questions which will come to it. We all have been passing through a very I would say challenging yet opportunistic phase of first work from home, then work from anywhere, and then now we have entered into a phase of hybrid workplace, and every organization is trying to align and adjust to the hybrid workplace, and then largely we all feel that it is going to be a new sustainable normal. For IT leaders and professionals, it is critical to relook at the setup from a different perspective. Every change brings a lot of risk, lot of challenges, and with a very fast track, we need to meet our needs and wants of changing environment. And the only urgency which happens to all of us is it is requirement of yesterday. So while these things are happening from different perspective of unforeseen disturbances which are causing because of this new cultural shift of workplace and workforce both, and this and need to change the gears to be ready for such kind of phenomena. Then this is not, I would say, for a particular industry, but for the manufacturing side, for the service side, for the customer facing organization or the IT companies, and so everybody is on the same thing. And a good part of it is we started collaborating more and more. Today, our focus would be touch base all those common element which we have experienced, we have customized or hardened it to suit to our requirement, whether it is a VPN, whether it is the security, whether it is networking, and get a good opinion and the very experienced opinion from the panelist which we have it today. So with this, I would with this as a context, whether it is zero trust, whether it is the VPN side of it, how do we look at the SASE model and how practical it is, whether any one of us have started, there are many companies are looking forward for it. Is it an economics challenge? Is it a technology challenge? Is it a cultural fit which is a gen, or is it you need to you need to communicate the same thing top management and so on. So there are different dimensions of when we are moving from current stage to the stage. So with this as a background and the context, let us try to unfold some of the dimension and perspective of hybrid workforce and beyond with the help of the esteemed panelists. So let me come back to the first thing is hybrid workplace being accepted by organization. And I don't think when we say accepted, there is a choice in with any one of us, because this is a way we need to look at it. But let me go back to Kaustubh, and just let me ask him, hybrid workplace being accepted by organization, how is your organization getting ready to new normal, new design and architecture, team alignment, migration, and so on and so forth? If you can throw a light on this and let our viewers and we also learn from your experience. So what do you, Kaustubh?
Thanks, Abdul. So, Abdul, in Mondelez, okay, before we tackle the hybrid workplace problem, we first acknowledged hybrid workforce.
Yeah.
So, what is, I mean, and we have very well defined that what is hybrid workforce, because our workforce comprises of contractors, service providers in shared services space and in IT outsourcing space. We have gig workers as well. And even we have marketplace sellers. So just to give you an example, if you go to Amazon.com and buy a Cadbury chocolate, it is not being actually sold by Mondelez. It's a Cloudtail India who sells the chocolate. So our IT domain or IT scope expand much beyond our own offices, even to our marketplace seller and also to bots. One of the major changes, what I have seen in Mondelez from pre-pandemic time to now, is the amount of bots we are using and the kind of activities we are getting done using bots. So now a lot of critical activities are actually being performed by bots. So bot is again a very critical user in my network landscape. Earlier this year, we actually created a DRS strategy for our bots, which is helping us doing in month-end closing and financial month-end closing and those kind of things, which was unthinkable 18 months ago. So anyway, coming back to your question, okay, how the hybrid workplace is accepted. What we did is we included all these elements together, and it comes up with what you have rightly said, a very common theme, like an authorized user. Now I'm using the word user, but I'm not even using an employee. Okay, an authorized user can able to access any application from anywhere using any device, any network at any point in time. So before pandemic, we implemented a fully SD-WAN architecture in Mondelez. We also implemented our cloud-based security solution using Zscaler, and it was a complete SASE solution. But what we did, because now it has going to be sustained for a long period of time, we extended these products, these tools to our partners. We extended these tools to our multi-cloud strategy as well. We implemented the secure Unity Edge services of Silver Peak. I mean, I'm sure that there are other SD-WAN provider which provides the similar kind of services. We implemented Zscaler private access so that our remote users are able to access our network, access our application, our resources with a reasonable latency and on time. And basically what we did is we ensured that we are going to use more and more of internet as our medium. We need to ensure that we have the right tools to monitor the performance and in some cases even enhance the performance over the internet. And the third thing is, how can we secure it using a cloud-based security solution rather than asking people to use a specific network, always connect to a VPN and those kind of things. We actually move towards always on VPN kind of solution.
Okay, thank you, Kaustubh. I think very, very important and very good points to just to summarize to the viewers. One of the good point which is brought by Kaustubh is inclusion of a digital employee being part of the workforce. So I think this particular dimension is coming up in every organization. I'm sure we are hoping for a day when they get their employee code as well. And yes, this is one item which is coming. And appreciate, your design part has an ecosystem consideration than the just a four-wall kind of. So for all the viewers and listeners, these are the 2 points we need to be very, very critically thought as a part of design. Take your partner ecosystem. You not only within yourself, digital employees or worker coming into the foray, and the design has a consideration of zero trust product may differ as they have one for Zscaler, but of course, so these are the quick thing. Thank you, Kaustubh, for bringing all these very good point. Let me go to Kaushik, if you can also throw some light, and then we can conclude. So we keep it short so that we give other questions also some sufficient time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Apurv, and good afternoon to everybody, all the panelists and the participants in this session. For us, hybrid workplace existed, before COVID-2, but in a different ratio of our entire workforce. So that was always there. What actually challenged us, so I will not be repeating, thank Kaustubh for covering few of the aspects, because all organizations have adapted some sort of digital transformation to survive. So I will not repeat that. But what is essential at this point is the way this hybrid workplace gets defined by an organization, because then the rest of the things falls in place, be it in terms of redefining the process, policies. You have to set the right culture with the with the workforce who starts working in a hybrid environment, how you address the incoming and outgoing of your this hybrid model workforce in and out of office. So these are all the needs that evolve. What strongly came up is basically it actually proves, or it acts as a tester for you in terms of how are you positioned in digital transformation when this pandemic hit us. Because for many of the organizations who have already have a digital strategy in place and is progressing with that, all that they needed was to scale it to a certain level to accommodate the demand, be it in areas of collaborative tools, be it in areas of the e-commerce websites to cater the customers. These are all that came in, and we are not a difference to that. What also needed very strongly is on the compliance and the security part, because you need to constantly educate the users who are working from home with the challenges that they face and the risk that is associated with it. So that is very important, and that which we continue to very much, and as we do that very deliberately to do that. and obviously hardening your system, the gates, the information protection, in terms of data protection, these all comes into the periphery, how you actually are, aiming to protect that, because it needs a new expanded risk assessment to be done for this entire new hybrid working environment that we are moving ahead with. So I will keep it short in this way. So this is what we have looked at and we are working on as we speak.
Thank you, Kaushik. Thank you for bringing up a couple of very prominent points. As a look at it as a strategic, look towards it from the organization perspective, in line with the digital transformation, and keep the focus of compliance and risk on it, so that while we are changing into a new way of working, we do not face too much of boiling from compliance risk, and then we have to struggle and it affects the operation excellence. Thank you so much. Vinod, if you can also bring some points on the same, so that.
Sure, Avadut. First of all, good afternoon to everyone. See, I want to, I think both the panelists have covered it well. So I want to give a perspective that we have to accept the new norm now. So it is not a band-aid, it's not a patchwork which we need to do. I think the learning which is there is that go back to the drawing board and look at where the perimeter of the organization is now. Because it is no more the same network, no more the same users. The amount of users, partners, internal employees are actually getting added up. It's a phenomenal pace. And you're growing in the geographies. So I think that is the first thing we need to really understand, that what is that, what is our boundary, who are the users who are consuming it. And then you put your moving parts, whether it is the VPN, how the employees were earlier using it, firewall access, what is the impact because of this new norm, what is your DLP strategy. I think SD-WAN was brought up. So what will be your SD-WAN strategy? Because SD-WAN, just having an SD-WAN does not solve the problem. So are you going to separate out application services from the network services? I think there is where the design element comes into the picture. Then you talk about the whole IDS IPS, the firewall intrusion and prevention system. How are you basically going to manage the threats from even the malicious domain DNS, which is very common right now? So, but it is not enough. What is important is that how it is going to impact your new policies. See, nobody is going to run this organization on somebody's understanding, okay, this is how we should do it, unless it is properly documented, signed off by the board. Because I think Kaushik brought about the risk. What are the risks associated with it? Risk can be not only from the threat side, but also from the non-compliance. Because if you are in a regulatory industry, look at how much price you have to pay on the non-compliance. So I think those aspects need to be seen. And then you build, it's a journey, and there will not be organizations where they will be done. They will be always looking at it with a living document, but you need to prioritize which are your hotspots, which are the things you need to do first, and fix those areas fast, and probably go for the new tools. I think when we talk about the SASE, a little bit more details, how are these things converging? Because good news is that earlier all these pieces were isolated. They were basically working in isolation. Now SASE gives us a framework where these dots can be connected. And when the dots are connected, you have unified view of the user policy, you have unified view of the security, you have unified view of the data, you can do a lot many things. So that is where I think the aspirations are there, and that's where the companies need to go there, and that's how the journey is also we're embarking on. So I will keep it short here and take a pause in the interest of time.
Thank you, Vinod, for bringing up another important dimension of baselining, because you're right. In the last 1.5 years, we have taken, every organization has taken a lot of steps, not only from security side, network side, from the digitization perspective. So relook at all those things and set a new baseline, so that from there you can take off. So that's a very good point. And then try and understand your stakeholder, and that's also another point. Many a time we do not revisit our stakeholder register And with this, many things you can solve the problem. Maybe it is a communication, maybe understanding your partners, understanding your stakeholders. So yes, these are the two very critical point. Viewers can make a note of it. While we have set the context about various elements to be considered, all of us in our organization, we not this is nothing to do with the COVID, but VPN was always a prominent part of our setup, and I'm sure every organization has been connecting through VPN kind of thing. So let me go back to Abhishek on this and say, how do you see the future of the current advanced VPN with respect to the vulnerability and multicolor architecture for remote connectivity? Maybe we can hear you from on this point.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Avadut. So VPN, as we know that in the past, it has been a lifeline. And whenever limited mobility what we had, we used to latch upon VPNs, and they served us well. And that those point of time, the workforce was limited, who was mobile, and there were application who were residing in the data center. So it worked, it served us well. But in last 5 years, what we have seen is that there have been a lot of changes in the IT landscape and the way business work, the digitalization, what we call, it has been accelerating at a very exponential pace. So there are three important changes which we have seen in this these times. One is that users are everywhere, because your business needs that users have to be anywhere on any device, and they still be able to access those critical application and do their work and enhance the productivity. At the same time, we see that application have moved from our data center to various other locations like cloud or SaaS-based applications. So applications are everywhere, any cloud, public cloud or SaaS-based applications. And the third, which is the most important piece, I would say, is in last 5 years, we have seen these threats of attackers have increased multifold. And that's something very concerning. These malicious activity and attacks have risen. And in later than these 2 years which we witnessed, I mean, this was unprecedented time and event that overnight we saw that unimaginable number of our employees and workforce started working from home. And hats off to the leaders like you that who made it happen. That how did you manage to give them access and enable organization to work from remote? So these were the challenges which we had, and there were very interesting learnings, because when you have so large workforce working from home or from remote, then you actually know that what is working. And many of the organization leveraged upon the VPNs. And VPN served, they helped in enabling this platform. But at the same time, when your help desk tickets increased, they actually found that there had been a couple of very important issue that needs to be dealt with respect to the performance. For example, if a user is going to connect to data center, it's fine. But if applications are in maybe cloud, then he has to first go to data center, then the connection is established to the cloud. So these brings a lot of latency and not the future proof architecture. And that's where working in remote, we keep on getting the performance impacts. At the same time, scalability, when the CIOs like you had to work, ensure that we have the measures in place. You have to install the hardware, procure it, and then configure it. It was not an easy task, right? So that is another thing which we, as an organization, we see that how resilient we are for tomorrow's business need. If business asks us that in maybe a week's time we need to roll this out, are we ready? And the third and most important thing which I feel is in front of us is security, because there are 10 times more attacks which have happened on the VPN vulnerabilities in last 1 year. So we are seeing that these are not going to, I mean, they are going to stay with us for a very long time. And the nature of these attacks have become very sophisticated. So CXOs are now realizing that VPN may not be the ultimate panacea which we are looking at, and we really need to have a very robust platform, like maybe a VDI or SASE, where we can latch upon and we can be future proof and we can be resilient when business needs. And that's where Gartner says that by 2023, which is 2 years from now, 50% of the organizations are going to phase out these VPNs, and they are going to adopt a very robust approach like zero trust. So this is what the overall view I wanted to share.
Great. Thank you, Abhishek. I think we we're getting a feel that yes, VPN was one of the key driver or the rider for us to for the remote working. But yes, there are with the increase, as you brought it, increase in the landscape, whether it is through multi-cloud or the number of users increase, and also the your threat landscape has also increased, and the threat variances are also there. So with all this complexity coming in, a VPN in the current context may not stand the test of the security. And that's where the whole movement about the newer age of the architectures are coming, whether it is zero trust network or a SASE architecture is coming. I just wanted to ask a slightly a different question, probably to, because I think Kaushik brought up this point about compliance, and this is in the interest of, let's say when we are talking about we are having hybrid or the completely working from home, do you feel that it is a good idea to also get your setup reviewed from the third party so that your board of directors or your management also get a kind of a comfort? Just a quick answer. It may not need a more description kind of thing, but many a time, it also gives you comfort that what you are doing is right, appropriate in the context of the future, and so on and so forth. So outside in perspective, apart from the vendor with you are working, is it a good idea to do it? Your thought, Kaushik, quickly, yes or no, and probably.
Yeah, I think it's always good to have outside in view, but it also depends upon what you have inside. So for us as an organization, we have a very dedicated security office in place, which is globally managed and headed, and which is also formed. It's not only with our internal colleagues, but it is also with the partnership ecosystem with all the major consultants who are part of that. So that keeps us very much up to date in what is happening outside. So we always put that in place whenever we review such topics, whether it's in terms of compliance or whether it is in terms of policies that we need to rework on. And this particular situation of moving into an hybrid workplace is not a difference. It always needs to go through that journey.
Okay, thank you so much. I think for clarifying it. Let's move ahead with we expressed our thought on the overall design perspective, what VPN future we have it, and yes, zero trust network, or we may say software defined perimeter, whatever you say it, is a new way of looking at it. Some of you have expressed that already. You have through maybe Zscaler or some way you are yes, initiated the access is gaining a lot of attention in the zero trust network. See, primary SDP is focused on a identity driven access management solution, access to any information resource. It could be when we say resource, it can be just not a computer, your laptop, or your edge. It may be even an equipment where when we are looking at the OT side of it, you might see your vendor or the service provider cannot come to your plant. He may ask for the remote connectivity because most of them are computer enabled equipments. So the resource may cover from your equipment instrument to your normal edge or any other which is in the network, and SDP solution will securely authenticate the user. So with this change which we are seeing do you all feel that organizations are ready for zero trust part? Maybe I would request Kaustubh and Kaushik to just give a thought, and what challenges you all feel faced by organization who will be early adopters of the and movers of this. If you can give your brief idea on this for our viewers.
So quickly, if I speak on behalf of Mondelez, I mean, we have presence in more than 80 different countries, 400 plus locations, 120 plus factories, and those kind of things. A company of this size, this scale, and this kind of a spread, zero trust network is still an utopia. We have yet to reach over there. We try to implement network access control, and to be very honest, I have such a huge list of exceptions that managing that exception itself has become a bigger headache than implementing the solution. Coming to the challenges what we feel organization as an early adopter. Mondelez, I mean, we have been early adopter when it comes to IT infrastructure side. I mean, we implemented SD-WAN back in 2019. I remember, I mean, after we implemented it, I read an article on Forrester saying that only 16% of the companies have implemented SD-WAN solution, and telcos are leading the pack. And here we were, a CPG company, done and dusted with that. Same goes with cloud services as well. When we moved our core application SAP to Azure, I mean, of this size, we were first among the few. While all these journeys are quite exciting, and after completing the journey, and when you achieve that, you feel pretty good about it. But there are underlying challenges. The first challenge is lack of in-house talent capability. One needs a great partner, but at the same time, you need an in-house talent which can actually tell whether the selected solution or selected design is actually meeting our organizational all the requirements or not. And keeping the user experience at the center of it, it becomes all the more important that we have in-house talent. We upskilled our resources, but to be very honest, we hired people from the market as well to fill some of the gap. The second one is partner selection. It's very important, because you are an early adopter, you won't find a partner with, many customer or many reference client. So you have to do a thorough due diligence in terms of selecting the partner. One last thing I can say that if you are stuck on the technical side, there are very few helping hands. So you need to, in that scenario, you need to figure it out that whether you want to mold your process or whether you want to mold your solution, okay, in order to meet the requirement. But these are the top three which I can think of from top of my head.
Thank you, Kaustubh, for I think this is 2-3 good points which are, and the major challenge is, as you mentioned, as your scale is, or the operation scale is very high, the challenges are directly proportional to it in a multifold. So 3 important points which you brought up, it is in-house talent is must to challenge the partner selection as well as the product selection. Very clearly articulated. Thank you for that. And we are very clear when new technology comes out, other than the sellers or the vendors, you do not have really a good reference to ride on. And this problem always, challenges are going to be there, but we also would like to also thank you the supply vendors or partner, because they keep this concept awake, so that because of them we keep meeting them and discussing, and at least one day this gets into a realized part of it. So maybe we would also like to hear from Kaushik your thought on the same topic.
So I think, Costa, we are making things easy for me because, we are also at the end of the day present worldwide, and nothing bit different than what you said. But I will give you some real challenges that we experience. I think the biggest challenge that we experience while during this COVID is the expectation from user. And when I say expectation of user, when e-commerce was a topic or web shop was a topic that was introduced, the business units always wants, Amazon experience, what we call, right? Buying and selling in Amazon. Then with all the complexities, that Amazon becomes something else. So, that's something. And similarly, when this happens, the user experience is that being, working in a remote location at a distant village in a rural India, and they want to have that same experience working in office. With the same kind of infrastructure, same kind of setup, everything working fine. Come on, you have to understand, we are in India, and there is no such service provider that provides services uniformly across the length and breadth of the country. So these are some real challenges that we start facing, and to be very honest, we are still searching for such answers where we can provide such a support, such an experience that my user experience in office to a remotest place in India. It's still some time to come, maybe, and we look forward for such. I think what has happened is that the vulnerability among the users has increased a lot, because since it was very easy when you have a workforce in front of you, educating them, making them aware, and protecting your your information or data is much easier compared to that when it is at in different places. So, sensitive data, you talk about, the ways people have started to work, you can imagine that, in a remote village, they go for, maybe a local internet which comes through a cable. What is the protection that is running behind it? Come on, nothing is there. We know that very well. Now, how we can, safeguard ourselves? So these are the day-to-day challenge which we are facing in and out, and we still work with it. All that we do is keep the users educated. We see that what best we can do, strengthen ourselves. We have really put a lot of guards in terms of data protection, in terms of access, the logical access control side with dual factor authentication. We are also, aiming to move into something called, passwordless, logins. So these are all that is in place and that we are working actively, and this will continue, I think so, going forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kaushik. I think this is another good dimension. I would say internal customer expectation is also becoming one of the challenge. So that the finally internal customer needs to be efficient as well as effective when it comes, and this particular complaint always comes because this is one of the assignable costs for productivity, and we have to be mindful about it when we are getting into the new way of thing. At the same time, every flexibility, want and expectation, we may or may not be able to meet it. How do we do it? Whether we make them aware through kind of education that these are the challenges, so and so forth. There's no answer for that. I also agree, but we can always park it, and maybe in some conferences like this we get the answer. So moving ahead, with people, IP, and data being everywhere, it calls for some framework now which addresses the issues, which is now in the current context we keep discussing about the SASE framework, and I am sure all of us are aware this has been coined by Gartner. So SASE delivers a converged network and security services from a single global distributed and cloud native platform. Scale, accelerate, and edge computing capability to delight customer are integrated with a zero trust network, which we discussed, web application and API. So let me come back to the questions to Vinod and Abhishek. In this case, I'll just throw whichever way you want to answer. You can take the sequence. Is your organization taken any step towards the SASE framework? It could be any product which you have chosen it, and what are the challenges you foresee or faced as a part of this implementation, and whether according to your, do you feel that SASE framework will address all the security and network issues or not? These are three questions. You may choose any sequence to answer it. Over to you, Vinod and Abhishek.
Avadut, I'll probably start. See, I think what Kaushik talked about and what Kaustav talked about, absolutely talent as well as the user experience. But I will probably talk about 3-4 points which I believe are very important on this journey. I think one is complexity. See, every organization, even before pandemic, were doing something, right? They had VPNs, they had products, they had. It is not that suddenly after pandemic people start thinking about how to upgrade VPNs, how to upgrade security. No, they are there. Now suddenly there is a good product, good framework available in the market, and a lot of maturity is happening. So I would say we should look at it from how do we integrate this and what is the complexity involved. And that is from the technology point of view purely, and this then the second part, which user experience, other adoption. That is the first thing. Second is the cost factor. We should not ignore that piece, because cost is very important. If you have signed a product for 2 years, 3 years license, what are you going to do with that? Are you going to do away? What are the modules applicable? So I think that whole exercise, baselining, is also important as part of it. Third thing which is very important is security. I think security is all the more important, particularly, see, SASE is talking about secure access, service edge. I think there is where you have got today so many endpoints which are open. How do you service that edge? I think that is the very important aspect. And the fourth, which is the most important, probably the policies. I brought out in the first conversation. So it's about how do you reduce the complexity, and that is the journey we are going through. what is the impact on the cost? What is the business case for it? How much you can do this year? How much you can do next year? How much you can roll out? That is a part of the business case. How much? What is your security maturity which you are bringing up? And then what are the policies? And you need to release the new updated versions of the policies. You need to socialize that. You need to tell to the people also how they have to do their work differently. How the user IDs, the self-service which they are going to get now has to be communicated back to the users. So I'll take pause here. I know the time is very short.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with Mr. Vinod, whatever he has mentioned, because organization cannot just rip and replace something. So we need to also see from the perspective that how it integrates with my current networking and security landscape, right? And SASE wonderfully consolidates a lot of services into it. It is basically a security architecture model for the networking services at the edge. And we started SD-WAN journey long back when we software defined the WAN, which address the performance aspects to great extent. But at the same time, as Mr. Vinod rightly mentioned, it opened up a lot of other challenges also and complexity also. So we need to see how do we balance it and then slowly progress towards it. And one of the area, or I would say the broad area towards that is the security piece. It is easier said than done. So now, how does SASE helps into it? So SASE actually works on four pillars. One, the zero trust basic, I would say, building block, which has four pillars, which is like always checking, always verifying, and don't trust, and segment based identity. I mean, not the network based, which earlier it used to be, and then contextually, like who, when, what, and how, all those things put together, and then consistent and continuous risk assessment, and which is adaptive and always gives us the visibility that where we are going. So these are a very, I would say, a very comprehensive and very solid security framework, which otherwise organization just can't put and build on the edge, right? It is very difficult. And that's where SASE come into the play. And SASE wonderfully addresses these aspects. It's a combination of services over and above SD-WAN. Like, for example, how a malicious website is not going to attack if users are going to connect to internet, how a browser which might inject some attack, how your access to your application and data is authorized and accessed by you are under the framework of your compliance, how data is not getting possibly uploaded to a third party website. All these considerations have been taken into account, and there are certain building blocks which have been consolidated into this framework, like CASB, zero trust network access, or the firewall as a service, the DLP as a service. How do you encrypt and decrypt? And you ensure at the same time that it doesn't consume your hardware cycles and all. So all those aspects are put together in this framework, and then it actually does the work. And the most important piece is how it, in a unified way, it gives you the visibility at the same time and gives you an assessment of your risk score, like which user is more vulnerable and what action you are going to take, what are the performance challenges. So we need such framework where it addresses all the challenges of the industry, environment, IT, and at the same time it integrates with the existing framework. And slowly you move towards it. So this is what I feel that this is going to be journey like in front of us.
Thank you, Abhishek. And I think really very prominent point. Definitely, current setup, which is investment, is protected and it complements and integrate with the existing one. Yes, and SASE by very construct looks very futuristic and a promising framework. It is a building block approach. There is no one solution, but we might have to look at that as a part of this. Policies and security as brought by Vinod. Yes, we to all the listeners, though we say that SASE is looks very prominent and futuristic, new challenges are going to be there while we rest and sunset the existing challenges and issues. But yes, there are the issues is it's a new one where not many references. Each one of us has to learn from such forum, from the partners, and whatever we do well. I think we are right on the time. Thank you so much, Abhishek, Kaushik, Vinod, and Kaustuv for sharing a very valuable inputs from the design perspective to to the current and the futuristic technologies coming, what challenges we need to take into consideration, how we can address them. Each organization will have their own culture and approach, and consideration. And that's all. Thank you so much. Bhavna, over to you. And thank you, viewers, for patiently listening to us. I hope there are good takeaways from each one of the panelists. Thank you so much. And over to you, Bhavna.
Sure.
Thanks,
Thank you
Abdul.
so much. Thank you, Dr. Avadhoot, and thank you to all our panelists. Thank you so much, Kaushik, Vinod, Abhishek, and Kaustubh for joining us and enlightening us with your knowledge. Thank you once again, gentlemen.